Hey, Shalom, Shalom, Israel, Shalom, and Shalom. Welcome back to New Wine Congregation of Israel. I'm Brother Nashan. We're going to start a series today called Law School. All right, New Wine Congregation of Israel Law School. It'll be in a playlist created Law School, and it's simply going to be where we discuss the laws of the Most High God. We're going to try to go through the Bible, Most High willing, at least once a week. And we're going to try to go through the laws, all right? See what laws we're supposed to be keeping and what laws we are not supposed to be keeping. Explaining the laws, how to keep them, even the laws that are done away with, like the sacrificial laws. All right, we're going to try our best to go into those things so that you can understand the whole Bible. All right, here in New Wine Congregation, we strongly believe in education, understanding why you're doing what you're doing. All right. So starting off, the first law we're going to address is the Sabbath. All right. The first law that we're going to address is the Sabbath. So let's talk about the Sabbath. When is the Sabbath? How do we keep the Sabbath? All these things. Most High willing, we're going to get into the Bible and see exactly that. All right. So first off, the Sabbath is a commandment. All right. The Sabbath day, to keep the Sabbath day, it is a commandment in the Bible. All right. Let's go real quick to Genesis. The book of Genesis, chapter 2 and verse 1. All right. Here it says, thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day, Yahweh ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And Yahweh blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which Yahweh had created and made. All right. So this is the first Sabbath. All right. The first instance of the Sabbath being mentioned in the Bible. The Most High God, Yahweh, kept the Sabbath. All right. It said he sanctified. It said he sanctified it. All right. Because in it, he had rested from all his work. All right. Let's look up the definition of sanctified. All right. Sanctified, set apart as or declare holy, consecrate, okay, make legitimate or binding by religious sanction, all right, free from sin, purify. All right, the one that we want is this first one here, set apart as or declare holy, consecrate. So this is what the Most High did with the seventh day. All right, let's go back to Genesis. It said, and he rested, verse 2, and he rested on the seventh day. Now, the Most High God does not sleep. He doesn't need sleep. All right. He does not live inside of time. He created time for us. All right. He's omnipotent. He's outside of the things that he created. Okay. So he didn't need the rest because he was tired. He rested because it was a day that he sanctified and set apart as holy. Okay. That's the first time the Sabbath was created, was kept by, and it was kept by the Most High. Okay. Now from there, let's go to the book of Exodus. Exodus chapter 20 and verse number 8. All right. This is where the 10 commandments are. All right. And eventually we're going to go through all of these commandments, Most High willing. We're going to go through all of them and get the understanding of them. All right. Verse 8 is the fourth commandment. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. All right. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of Yahweh thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days Yahweh made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and rested the 7th day. Wherefore Yahweh blessed the 7th day and hallowed it. Okay, so the 7th day is blessed. We're not allowed to do any work on the Sabbath day, all right, which is the 7th day. Okay, this is found in the 10 commandments. Most people are familiar with the 10 commandments, right? But when you ask people about the 4th one, that's when they kind of don't understand. But that explains why the Most High said, remember. That explains why he said, remember the Sabbath day. If I ask you to remember something, it's because I don't want you to forget it, right? I don't want you to forget it. All right. And a lot of y'all by now, Most High willing, are familiar with how the Israelites went into captivity over and over again. All right. This last captivity, the 7th one being here in America, all right, and scattered throughout all the rest of the world. But through these captivities, we forgot how to keep our laws. We forgot how to keep the commandments of the Most High. All right. So he said, remember that thing. Don't forget the Sabbath. All right. From there, it said, oh, let's go back. Let's go back because it said more about it. All right. It said, you can do all your labor and do all thy work. When you look at the word work, let's go into the word work. Work. Activity involving mental or physical effort done in order to achieve a purpose or result. All right. A task or tasks to be undertaken, something a person or a thing has to do. Okay. To be engaged in physical or mental activity to achieve a result, do work. All right. Labor, toil, effort. Let's see. Industry. All right. Grind, service, travail. Okay. Elbow grease. So during the time of the Bible, you had people that were, how you say, they were assigning their own definitions to what they would call work. Like when Yahweh Shah would do miracles, all right, they would call that work. Him basically healing people, they would call that work. All right. When you go into the word work, matter of fact, let me pull it up in the blue letter. Let me see if they got what I'm looking for. Something specific I'm trying to show y'all. All right, yeah. So when you look in the word work, look at the word work, it's malakah, melaka, melaka, melaka. All right, I'm probably saying it wrong. But the point is, it says dutyship, employment, all right, or work, okay? Also property. But here's the point. Here's what I was looking for. Business, okay? Business. Business is work. So business involves buying and selling, okay? Business involves buying or selling, business, workmanship, okay? So we don't want to be buying or selling, doing any type of work on the Sabbath day. All right, we're going to see that as we go on. Let's go to Exodus chapter 31. Can't do any type of business on the Sabbath day. All right, Exodus 31 and verse 15. It says 6 days may work be done, but in the 7th is the Sabbath of rest, wholly set apart to Yahweh. Whosoever doeth any work, business, in the Sabbath day, he shall surely be put to death. Now, during this time, you got put to death instantly for breaking the Sabbath. There was no animal sacrifice that could atone for the sin of breaking the Most High God's Sabbath. You died on the spot. All right. It says, wherefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations. Throughout your generations means as long as you're having children generating, you're going to have to keep the Lord's Sabbath, right? It says for a perpetual covenant. Let's look up the word perpetual. Perpetual. Perpetual, never ending or changing. Okay. So the Sabbath is something that is never going to end. And it's a perpetual covenant. What is a covenant? Covenant, an agreement, contract. Okay. So the Sabbath is a never ending contract between us and the Most High God, the children of Israel and the Most High God. Perpetual. All right. He says it is a sign. A sign. Another word for a sign is a mark. Okay. A mark between me and the children of Israel. So the Most High God has a mark, like the devil has a mark, the mark of the beast and the mark of the Most High God, Yahweh. One of his marks is the Sabbath. You are either marked for keeping the laws of the Most High, or you're marked by the devil, marked by the beast for sinning. All right. One day, Most High willing, we'll do a breakdown on what the mark of the beast is. All right. I'll go ahead and tell you now, the mark of the beast is sin. Okay. But we'll do a whole class on that. Okay. It says it is a mark, a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. Forever means forever. Right. So that means all the way to the day. For in 6 days, Yahweh made heaven and earth, and on the 7th day, he rested and was refreshed. All right. So it's a sign. It's a sign. It's a sign. And it's a perpetual covenant. From there, let's go to the book of Leviticus. Leviticus. So the Sabbath is a commandment. Let's see what else the Sabbath is. Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 1. All right, it says, and Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, concerning the feasts of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations. Even these are my feasts. So a holy convocation is a set apart gathering of large people. That's what a convocation is a gathering, a formal gathering of a large formal gathering. I said a gathering of large people. A large formal gathering. That's what a convocation is. All right. And holy means set apart. So it's a set apart, large gathering that's formal. Okay. It says, even these are my feasts. So it's going to tell us about the feasts of the Most High God. Verse 3, 6 days shall work be done, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of rest and holy convocation. Ye shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of Yahweh in all your dwellings. Okay. So it says, these are the feasts of the Lord, even the holy convocations which ye shall proclaim in their seasons. All right. So certain feasts are only kept in certain seasons, but the Sabbath day itself is a feast day. All right. It is a feast day, and it's designed for us to come together and congregate as a congregation. All right. Eat, right. One might say, well, I thought we weren't supposed to cook on the Sabbath. Well, that's true. We're going to explain that. Right. But there's a such thing as a cold feast. Okay. You can have feasts that are with fruits and vegetables that aren't cooked. Okay. So you don't have to have a hot meal for it to be a feast. All right. Let's understand that. So the Sabbath day is a feast day. Now, excuse me, I'm on that tea, man. Got some peppermint tea and some spikenard. That spikenard is very good for you. Y'all should try that. All right. You can read about that in Wisdom of Solomon, not Wisdom of Solomon, Song of Solomon, chapter 4, verse 13 on down, if I'm not mistaken. All right. Where we going? When does the Sabbath day start and when does it end? All right, let's see. Let's go to Nehemiah real quick. Matter of fact, let's go to Genesis first. Let's see when a day starts and ends, because in school, we're taught that a day begins in the middle of the night, which is midnight. All right, but let's see what the Bible says. All right, Genesis chapter 1 and verse 5, it says, and Yahweh called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning were the first day. Evening and morning, right? Let's go to verse 8. It says, and Yahweh called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the first day. All right, you can see a pattern here. All right, let's go to verse 13. It says, and the evening and the morning were the third day. It goes on and on and on. So the start of the evening is when the daytime ends. That's the end and start of a new day. The morning, as we know it, would be the time where it's light out. The entire morning is not just the beginning of when it's light out. Morning is considered to be the entire time when the light is out. So from evening to evening is a whole day. A day starts and ends in the evening. Okay, when the sun goes down, that is the sign. That is when that is the evening, and that's the start of a new day and the end of the last day. All right, let's prove it. Let's go to Nehemiah. Let's further prove it. Nehemiah chapter 13 and verse number 15. We're going to read verse 15 to 21. It says, in those days I saw in Judah some treading wine presses on the Sabbath. All right, so these people were stomping on grapes on the Sabbath day, right, and bringing in sheaves and lading asses, as also wine, grapes, and figs, and all manner of burdens, which they brought into Jerusalem on the Sabbath day. And I testify against them in the day wherein they sold victuals. So victuals is food. So Nehemiah, the mighty prophet Nehemiah, he's seen people bringing in, basically he's seen commerce happening on the Sabbath, and he was pissed off about it. All right, rightly so. So it says he testified against them. Verse 16, there dwelt men of Tyre also therein, which brought fish and all manner of ware, and sold on the Sabbath unto the children of Judah and in Jerusalem. So if you can imagine this, you got other nations coming into Jerusalem and bringing all their goods and commerce to sell to us, the children of Israel. All right. That's the same way you got it going on today. Without the children of Israel, if all the Israelites in the world were to stop buying on the Sabbath, the world economy would collapse. The world economy would collapse. They depend on us breaking God's laws in order for the economy to stay in where it is and continue to grow. All right. So this is what you had going on here. Other nations coming in and selling things to us, right? Verse 17, it says, then I contended with the nobles of Judah and said unto them, so the nobles would be the judges, the elders of Judah, right? He said he contended with them. Why? Because they were allowing this to happen, right? He said, what evil thing is this that ye do, and profane the Sabbath day? So by buying and selling on the Sabbath, they were profaning it. That's not allowed to be done. All right. It says, did not your fathers thus, and did not our God bring all this evil upon us? All right. So when he said, didn't our fathers do this sin, and the Most High brought evil on us for it, yet ye bring more wrath upon Israel by profaning the Sabbath. So that's very important to understand. When we as a nation break the Sabbath day, it brings wrath on the whole nation. When you yourself say, man, forget that, I got to get what I need. It's Saturday. I got to go to the store real quick and buy something. By your single action, you are bringing wrath on the entire nation of Israel. When you can simply, now that we know when the Sabbath starts, right? So the seventh day is Saturday. Matter of fact, let's finish this first, right? Because I want to show you when a day starts. All right. So it says, by them doing this, they brought wrath on the entire nation of Israel, right? Verse 19, and it came to pass that when the gates of Jerusalem began to be dark, right? That's very important. Why is he saying this like this? He says, when the gates of Jerusalem began to be dark before the Sabbath. All right. So when it begins to be dark, that's right before the evening time, right before the sun goes down. And he says that is the time before the Sabbath. All right. That's how we know further that the Sabbath starts when the sun goes down on Friday. All right. Because the Sabbath is the seventh day of the week. A lot of people think Sunday is the seventh day of the week. I got to get it. Hold on. You pull up. Let me pull up my calendar so you can see when the seventh day of the week is. You can look at this on any calendar. This is just a calendar that was on here already. This is on your phone, any calendar. They got some calendars now that's crazy, but most calendars look like this: Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday is the seventh day of the week. So Sunday is the first day of the week, not the seventh. I don't, well, I know why. This was the seventh. The Sabbath was changed to Sunday during around 310, 313 AD by Constantine and the Pope. All right. They decided to change the Sabbath from Saturday to Sunday, which is not scriptural. Okay. So let's go back. So it says, and it came to pass that when the gates of Jerusalem began to be dark, so it began to be dark Friday, right before the sun went down on Friday, before the Sabbath, because the Sabbath starts at sundown Friday and it ends Saturday at sundown. He said, I commanded that the gates should be shut. He said, go ahead and y'all shut them gates up, because I don't want these men from these other nations bringing in stuff to sell to us so that we can break the Sabbath, right? And I charge that they should not be open till after the Sabbath. Don't open them gates until the sun go down on Saturday, after the Sabbath. And some of my servants sat at the gates. So Nehemiah was a mighty brother. Him and some of his servants sat at the gates to make sure that they didn't bring anything, right? It says that there should no burden be brought in on the Sabbath day. Right now, watch this. It says, so the merchants and sellers of all kind of ware lodged without Jerusalem once or twice. You had these merchants sleeping outside of the gates, waiting to come and sell stuff to us, because their economy will collapse without being able to sell to the children of Israel on the Sabbath. Right? It says, then I testify against them and said, unto them, why lodge ye about the wall? If ye do so again, I will lay hands on you. From that time forth, they came no more on the Sabbath. So Nehemiah said, if y'all don't get, why is y'all sleeping outside of this wall? If y'all don't leave, if you do it again, I'm going to put them paws on you. I'm going to put them paws on you. All right. Nehemiah was a mighty brother, man. Now, I'm not saying go around beating people up for breaking the Sabbath. All right. It ain't time for that. This is not the time for that. Right now, we're fishers. We'll be hunters at another time. All right. So, you're not, so the Sabbath, that's the point I was making. When the Sabbath start, it starts from the Friday evening to Saturday evening. That's the Sabbath day. All right. Now, let me see. Let's go to, because you got different schools of thought. You got people who believe that the Sabbath is only once a month. All right, you got different schools of thought. You got people that teach that the Sabbath is a once a month thing, for the seventh day from the new moon. All right, then you have people that think that the Sabbath day is from sunrise to sunrise. Right, but what we're going to see is that the Bible does not mention any of that. There's no evidence to support that. All right, let's go to real quick. Let's go to Genesis. Let me show you something. All right. So to disprove the logic that the Sabbath starts the seventh day from the new moon. Watch this. So when was the moon created? All right. Let's go to Genesis chapter 14, 1 and verse 14. All right. So the evening, verse 13, the evening and the morning was the third day. Now we're at the fourth day. All right. It says, and Yahweh said, let there be lights in the firmament of heaven. The firmament is the sky. All right. It says to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years, and let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. So this is the process of him making the sun, moon, and stars. Watch this. It says, verse 16, and Yahweh made two great lights. So he's dealing with the sun and the moon here. The greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. So the greater light is the sun, and the lesser light is the moon, right? So this is the fourth day. It says, and God set them in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And Yahweh saw that it was good. And now the moon, the sun and the moon and the stars are created. Watch what happens next. Verse 19, and the evening and the morning were the fourth day. So this moon that he made would be the first new moon, because it don't get no newer than the first moon that was ever created, right? This would be the new moon. So after the moon was created, if the seventh day was predicated on the moon, why didn't the days and the times start over right here in verse 19? Instead of starting over, he said, and the evening and the morning were the fourth day. All right. So the moon does not determine when the seventh day is. All right. That's not supported by the Bible. What that is laziness. You have brothers and sisters that don't want to keep the Sabbath every week. And so they say, we'll just keep the Sabbath once a month. That's lazy. All right. We got to give the Most High God more effort than that. All right. Now I want to deal with the morning Sabbath theory. All right. Let's go to Exodus, because this is one of the scriptures that brothers use to say that the Sabbath starts in the morning. Hold on, let me look at my Bible real quick. I think it's Exodus 12. 16 might be Exodus 12. Exodus 12 and verse 39. All right, watch this. So this is dealing with the Sabbath day, when Most High was first letting them know how to do it, right? He said, I'm gonna provide y'all manna and don't cook on the seventh day, right? Watch this. So it says, and they baked. Is this the one I want? Hold on. No, this ain't the one. Hold on. It is 16. Exodus 16 and 23. All right, watch this. So it says, and Yahweh, and he said unto them, this is that which Yahweh hath said. Tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath, and unto the Lord bake that which you will bake today, and seed that which you will seed, and that which remaineth over lay up for you to be kept until the morning. Now, brothers will read this. It says, verse 24, and they laid it up till the morning as Moses bade, and it did not stink, neither was there any worm therein. Now, brothers will say, they'll read this and say, see, the Sabbath starts in the morning. All right. He said morning right here. But watch this. It says, tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath. Right? Tomorrow. So they think tomorrow is saying in the morning when the sun comes up, right? But watch this. I could understand how you would think this. I'm not saying that it's just totally crazy to think this, right? So like, all right, that's all the tea. I'm not saying that it's just crazy to think that might say that may mean when the sun comes up, because that's what we usually think of as the morning. Tomorrow is in the morning. But watch this. That's why we have to go precept upon precept to understand the Bible. All right. We're gonna go to Judges. All right, the book of Judges. I'm gonna show you that morrow does not mean when the sun is up. Watch this. Judges chapter 6 and verse 34. Now, this is dealing with Gilead. All right. Judges chapter 6, Gideon, not Gilead. 6 and 34. It says, but the spirit of Yahweh came upon Gideon, and he blew a trumpet, and Abiezar was gathered after him. And he sent messengers throughout all Manasseh, who also was gathered after him. And he sent messengers unto Asher, and unto Zebulun, and unto Naphtali. And they came up to meet them. And Gideon said unto Yahweh, if thou wilt save Israel by mine hand, as thou hast said, behold, I will put a fleece of wool in the floor. And if the dew be on the fleece only, and it be dry upon all the earth beside, then I shall know that thou wilt save Israel by my hand, and thou, as thou hast said. So Gideon's about to go to war, but he wants a sign from the Most High. He says, look, I'm gonna put a fleece on the ground, right? And if dew is only on this fleece and the rest of the ground is dry, then I will know that the Most High is with me and he's going to support me in this battle, right? That's what you got going on, right? Let's keep reading. He says, and it was so, for he rose up early on the morrow, right? He rose up early on the morrow and thrust the fleece together. So we're dealing with the morrow here. Now watch this. And wring the dew out of the fleece, a bowl full of water. So he got his sign, right? The fleece was full of water. And Gideon said unto Yahweh, let not thy anger be hot against me, and I will speak but this once. Let me prove, I pray thee, but this once with the fleece. Let it now be dry only upon the fleece, and upon all the ground let there be dew. All right. And Yahweh did so that night, for it was dry upon the fleece only, and there was dew on all the ground. So it said morrow, but it said that night. Morrow is considered still when the sun is down, right? Esau even knows that. He tell you, hey, even though he got it wrong, he like, a new day has started, but the sun ain't up yet. It's 12 o'clock midnight. All right. So the morrow is not always at sunrise. Morrow is not talking about sunrise in the Bible. Morrow is talking about when the sun drops. All right. He said, and he did so that night, talking about the morrow. Okay. So that's how we know morrow is not always talking about when the sun comes up. All right. So let's go on. So what are you supposed to do and not do on the Sabbath? What are some do's and don'ts on the Sabbath? Let's go to Genesis. Let's go to Exodus chapter 25. We know you're not supposed to work. We know you're not supposed to buy or sell. All right. Let's get into some do's and don'ts. Exodus 25 and verse 2 through 3, right? It says, speak unto the children of Israel that they bring me an offering, every man. Exodus 25 and 2. Yeah. This ain't what I want. Exodus 25 and 2. Hold on. Exodus 35 and 2. All right, yeah. Exodus 35:2. It says, 6 days shall work be done, but on the seventh day there shall be unto you an holy day, a Sabbath of rest to the Lord. Whosoever doeth work therein shall be put to death. All right, ye shall kindle no fire throughout your habitations upon the Sabbath day. All right, so kindle no fire. What does that mean? Does that mean you can't take a hot shower? Because when you take a shower, your water heater is boiling water, right? There's some fire heat being generated. Does that mean you can't keep yourself warm? No, this is going into cooking. All right, let's prove it. Matter of fact, let's go back to Exodus 16:23, where we was at. Kindle no fire. That means you can't strike a match. No, that's not what it was. Lighting incense. All right. They was doing sacrifice and offerings, right? What does that talk about? Kindle no fire. It says, verse 23, and he said unto them, that this is that which Yahweh hath said, tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath unto Yahweh. Bake that which you will bake, and seethe that which you will seethe. Seethe means to boil, right? And that which remaineth over lay up for you to be kept until the morning. All right. So you can't bake or boil. You can't cook anything on the Sabbath, right? Why is he saying kindle no fire in this regard to this instance? Because you got to understand, when you kindled a fire back then, it was work. It was a lot of work that went into that. All right. You had to gather sticks. You had to get the sticks and kind of rub them together to make a fire. That was a lot of work that was being done. All right, so you're not allowed to do that now. Some people, most people, in my household, if we're gonna cook something, we'll cook it Friday before the sun goes down, and we'll kind of eat on it the next day. It'll just be kind of cold or warm. We'll leave it out so it'll be room temperature. But most of the time we eat cold food, fruit, salad, cold cut sandwiches. We just eat cold food. Now, you have some people that say that this is talking about cooking something. It's not talking about warming something up. Now, in my household, we don't use the microwave, because when you use a microwave, what does it say? Cook time. And you put in the amount of time that you want to cook for. All right. A microwave is a way to cook something. People say, well, something's cooked, fully cooked, it can't be cooked anymore. I mean, if you take that cheese, if you put cheese on a sandwich and you put it in the microwave and it gets hot and then that cheese melted, what did you do? You just cooked the cheese. All right. If you put a piece of meat in there that was cold and you warm it up and then you take it out and it's sizzling, that seems like you cooking it. So I don't force this on anybody. I'm gonna just tell you what I do in my household. We try to we err on the side of caution, and we don't use a microwave. All right. We were when we first came into the truth, but after a while, my spirit was convicting me of it. I was like, man, we can go a day without using that. We can go at least one day. And we just kind of just stopped doing it, faded it out, But that's how I see it. A lot of people see it like that. They don't use the microwave on the Sabbath, and I think that's a good thing. All right. So no cooking on the Sabbath, no buying, no selling, no doing any work. You, your children, don't clean up, don't be taking the trash out, washing the dishes, lifting mattresses and all. Just chill out. Just rest that day. All right. So what about the New Testament? Because you have some people that say, well, we don't know when the seventh day is. All right. Let's go to Wikipedia. Let's go to Julian calendar. All right. You got to understand, in the New Testament, Rome was ruling at this time. All right. Rome was ruling at this time. So in order to understand how they was keeping days, because we didn't call days Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we just numbered them. And the only day that had a name to it was the Sabbath day. All right. So Julian calendar, let's read about that. It says the Julian calendar is a solar calendar of 365 days in every year, with an additional leap year every fourth year without exception. So every fourth year they had a leap year, all right, in the Julian calendar. The Julian calendar is still used in parts of Eastern Orthodox Church and parts of Oriental Orthodoxy as well as by the Berbers, whereas the Gregorian calendar is used in most parts of the world. The Gregorian calendar is what we use today. All right, so over here it's got, in the Gregorian calendar, it will be August 7th, which is today. On the Julian calendar, it will be July 25th. All right, so it says this calendar proposed by Roman Consul Julius Caesar in 46 BC was a reform of the earlier Roman calendar, largely lunar solar. All right, so during the time of Rome, they were using the Julian calendar. That's what I want you to understand. All right, and the difference between hold on, let me see where that's at. The only difference in the Gregorian calendar and the Julian calendar is this. All right, let me type this in. Right, so this is what I'm looking for, kind of. Right, so it says the Julian calendar was replaced by the Gregorian calendar, changing the formula for calculating leap years. All right, the beginning of the legal new year was moved from March 25th to January 1st. All right, because they based their calendar initially on how we kept our calendar, by the moon. All right, like we read in the earlier in Wikipedia, they went from lunar to solar calendar, and when you do that lunar, your new year is going to always start in the springtime. Now they started in January, in the dead of winter. All right, it says finally 11 days were dropped from the month of September in 1752. So that's the only change in the only difference between the Julian calendar and the Gregorian calendar today. They just made it so that the leap year wasn't every 4 years exactly, to a difference in that, and they dropped a few days from the months and they changed the start of the new year. But they still had 7 days of a week, just like we do. Right? Saturday was the 7th day even back then. All right, it's just called Saturday now. All right, so what about the New Testament? All right, let's go to Matthew. Do we still got to, because some people say, well, we don't have to keep that Sabbath no more. We under the new covenant. Let's see what Yahweh Shah said. Matthew chapter 5 and verse 17. All right, it says, think not that I am come to destroy. Let's look up the word destroy, because people get simple, man. Destroy. Destroy. Put an end to the existence of something by damaging or attacking it. So to destroy something means to put an end to something. So let's read it again. Think not that I come to destroy or put an end to the law or the prophets. I am come not to destroy, put an end to it, but to fulfill. Let's look up the definition of fulfill now. Because people read this and they get simple, man. They got degrees and all type of stuff, but when it comes to the Bible, bro, they get simple, right? To bring to completion or reality, achieve or realize something desired, promised, or prededicated. So that's what Yahweh Shah did. He achieved and realized what he was supposed to do. Definition 2, carry out a task, duty, or role as required, pledged, or expected. Right? Carry out. That's what so let's read it again. Think not that I am come to destroy, to put an end to the law or the prophets. Everything the prophet said is going to happen is going to happen. I am not come to destroy, put an end to the law or the prophets, but to fulfill, to carry out the law and what the prophet said about me. That's what he came to do. All right. How do we know that? What did he come to fulfill? First of all, let's go to Acts. What did he come to fulfill in the prophets? Did the prophets ever say he was going to take away the laws? No. Acts 3 and verse 18. All right, it says, but those things which Yahweh before had showed by the mouth of all his prophets, that Yahweh Shah should suffer, he hath so fulfilled. So that's what he came to fulfill. Fulfill don't mean take away. That's the opposite. That would be a contradiction. You think the Son of God is going to contradict himself? Absolutely not. Let's see how we know he didn't take away the law. Verse 18, it says, for verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law till all be fulfilled. So one jot and tittle is like a comma or a period, the smallest detail. He said till heaven and earth pass, the law is not even a period or a comma ain't going to leave from the law. None of it's going to leave until all be fulfilled. Yahweh Shah hadn't made his second coming yet. All has not been fulfilled. All right, so we still have to keep the commandments. All right, let's go to Matthew chapter 23. Yahweh Shah kept the commandments. Yahweh Shah kept the laws. Matthew chapter 23, verse 2 through 3. All right, it says, saying, the scribes and Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. All therefore, whatsoever they bid you observe. He said, look, these scribes and Pharisees, they're the teachers of the law now, like Moses was back when he was alive. All therefore, whatsoever they bid you observe. Everything they tell you to do in these laws, do it. That observe and do, but do not ye after their works. Don't be a hypocrite like that. Don't teach the law and not do it yourself, for they say and do not. So Yahweh Shah was telling people to keep the laws. All right. He was still telling people to keep the laws, man. Now let's go to Mark. Let's see what he was accused of. All right. Somebody might be saying, well, that was why he was alive. We're going to deal with that. Let's go to Mark chapter 2 and verse 24. All right. Because he was accused of breaking the Sabbath, what we're going to see. All right. It says, and the Pharisees said unto him, behold, why do they on the Sabbath day that which is unlawful? So the Pharisees, well, let me start up. Read verse 23. It says, and it came to pass that when he went through the cornfields on the Sabbath day, and his disciples began as they went to pluck the ears of corn. So what you got is Yahweh Shah and his disciples are taking a journey, and it's the Sabbath day. And as they're walking where they're going, they're walking through the cornfields, and they kind of just plucking what they want and they're eating it. Right? Verse 24, it says, and the Pharisees said unto him, behold, why do they on the Sabbath day that which is not lawful? Now, keep in mind, for breaking the Sabbath, you got put to death instantly. All right, keep that in mind. He said, why do that which is unlawful on the Sabbath day? All right, he said, and he said unto them, have ye never read what David did when he had need and was in hunger, he and they that were with him? All right, so They went, basically David and his men went into the temple and they ate the showbread, right? Because they was hungry. But that wasn't a sin, right? So let's see if this accusation is true. They said that they could not go into the cornfields and pluck off the corn and eat it. They accuse him of breaking the Sabbath, right? But let's see if he broke the Sabbath. A lot of people read that and say, see, Yahweh, Jesus said that he's saying they ain't got to keep that Sabbath. But did they break the Sabbath? Let's see. Let's go to Leviticus 23. Leviticus 23 and verse 22. All right, this is a law we're going to read. It says, and when ye reap the harvest of your fields, right? When you reap the harvest of your land, thou shalt not make clean riddance of the corners of thy field. Meaning, when it's harvest time, you get ready to bring in your harvest. The Most High said, when you do that, don't just totally clean off the whole field. Don't reap the corners of the field, the outsides of the field, right? He says, when thou reapest, neither shalt thou gather any gleanings of thy harvest, meaning the stuff that fall on the ground. He said, don't pick that up, right? He says, thou shalt leave them unto the poor and to the stranger. I am Yahweh your God. So it's a law for us to make provision for the poor. Yahweh Shai was from he was from the hood. You know what I'm saying? He was from the hood. Galilee is the hood. I forget the brother that was with Solomon. He was when Solomon gave him that land, Galilee. He was like, "What are these cities you gave me? These cities look terrible." Galilee, you know, that's the hood. That's what Galilee mean, if I'm not mistaken, like the dirty part, the hood. All right, so these brothers were poor, so they was within the laws of the Most High. But the Yahweh Shah, it was accused of breaking the Sabbath. He was accused of breaking the Sabbath. All right, let's go back. Let's go to Mark chapter 3. Right? Mark chapter 3, verse 1. It says, and he entered again into the synagogue, and there was a man there which had a withered hand, had a brother there with a hand that was jacked up. Verse 2, it said, and they watched him whether he would heal him on the Sabbath day, that they might accuse him. Got to keep in mind, they was trying to put this brother to death, and they was trying to make it look lawful. All right. It says, and he said unto the man which had the withered hand, stand forth. And he said unto them, is it lawful to do good on the Sabbath days, or to do evil, to save life or to kill? But they held their peace. Right. So Yahweh Shai asked the question, he like, is it okay to do good? Is it okay to heal somebody or to kill somebody on the Sabbath? Right. He said, and when they had looked round about on them with anger, being grieved for the hardness of their hearts, he said unto the man, stretch forth thy hand. And he stretched it out, and his hand was restored whole as the other. And the Pharisees went forth and straightway took counsel with the Herodians against him, how they might destroy him. All right. So he didn't break the Sabbath. You can heal somebody on the Sabbath. All right. It's not against the laws of God to heal somebody, to go to the hospital. If you break your leg on the Sabbath, go to the hospital. Don't say, man, it's the Sabbath. Give me a couple of Tylenol. Yeah, go to the hospital. You can heal somebody. You can do good on the Sabbath. All right. If somebody call you and say, I mean, that's a case-by-case scenario. If somebody you know ain't breaking the Sabbath call you and they need some help, go help the person. You know what I'm saying? It's another scripture where he say, if your ox fall in a ditch or your child, is you gonna leave him there till the next day? No, you're gonna pull him out of the ditch, even though it's the Sabbath. So it's not, the Pharisees were being ridiculous. They was writing their own little definitions of what they wanted stuff to be like. That's found in the Talmud, which they brought with them out of Babylon. All right, so the Bible, that's why, to keep it simple, just don't add or take away. Just don't add or take away. Just don't add or take away. If you do that, you're gonna more than likely turn out good, man. All right, with understanding this Bible. All right. So they wanted to accuse Yahushua of sin. All right. Sin is breaking God's laws, right? 1 John chapter 3 and 4. All right, let's get that. They wanted to accuse Yahushua of sin so that they could put him to death, specifically the sin of breaking the Sabbath. All right. First John chapter 3, verse 4. Whosoever committed sin transgresseth also the law. So if you sin, you breaking God's laws. For sin is the transgression of the law. Now so if Yahushua did away with the Sabbath, if he broke the Sabbath, people say he didn't keep the Sabbath. Jesus didn't keep the Sabbath. That would be a sin. Let's see what the Bible says about him. Let's go to 1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 21. All right, it says, for even hereunto were ye called, because Hamashiach also suffered for us, leaving us an example that you should follow his steps, who did no sin, neither was guile found in his mouth. So he did no sin. So if he broke the Sabbath, he would have did sin. If he taught other men to break the Sabbath, that would be a sin. All right, that would be a sin. Now, let's deal with after his death. Let's go to Acts. Let's go to Acts, because people say, well, that was why he was living. After he died, he fulfilled the law. That means you ain't got to keep it no more. All right, well, let's see. Let's go to Acts chapter 24. It's the end of Acts. This when Saul was Paul. Acts chapter 24 and verse 14. All right, it says, but this I confess unto thee, that after the way which they call heresy, so I worship. So they was calling Paul, they was saying Paul was a heretic. Another word for heresy is a cult. Right? So they was saying Paul was in a cult. Right? He said, for this I confess, after the way they call heresy, they saying I'm in a cult. So I worship God, the God of my fathers, believing all things which are written in the law and in the prophets. So Paul believed that he needed to keep the laws after Yahushua died, right? Then they called him a cult. They said he was in a cult for that. The same way they say the Israelites today are in a cult. Oh, y'all trying to keep them laws. We ain't got to do them laws no more. Y'all under a cult. That's a cult y'all under. That's the same thing they were saying about Paul. All right, let's deal with it some more. Let's go to Colossians. Colossians chapter 2. Now, this is one that gets a lot of people confused, right? Because they don't understand Paul's writings. Colossians chapter 2, verse 14. Right? It says, blotting out, is this the one I want? Blotting out the handwriting of ordinances that was against us, which was contrary to us, and took it out of the way, nailing it to the cross. All right, so they read this and say, see, we ain't gotta keep them laws no more, brother. We ain't gotta keep them laws. Now, let me ask you a simple question. Is having a day of rest set aside against you? Don't you work 40, 50, 60 hours? Don't you need a day of rest? That's not against you. That's to benefit you. Is committing adultery, don't commit adultery, is that against you? Is don't steal from your brother against you? Those are all the laws. You can't pick one out of the 10 commandments and say, just that one. We ain't got to do that one no more. That don't make sense. These is the thing that was against you is you having to die for breaking the commandment. Like, don't break the Sabbath. That was what was the handwriting of ordinances. That was talking about you getting put to death. That's what's contrary to you. That's what he nailed to the cross. The fact that you needed to die. If you was a homosexual, you couldn't repent. If you committed adultery, you couldn't repent. If you disrespected your parents, you couldn't repent. If you broke the Sabbath, you could not repent. You had to die. He nailed that to the cross. He gave you an opportunity to repent. It says, in having spoiled principalities and powers, those wicked Pharisees and scribes, right? Sadducees, he said, those are the principalities and powers. He made a show of them openly. He embarrassed them in the open, in the synagogues, triumphing over them in it, right? Verse 16, this is where folks say, see, brother. Verse 16, let no man therefore judge you in meat or in drink or in respect of an holy day or of the new moon or of the Sabbath days, which are a shadow of things to come, but the body is of Christ, of Hamashiach. Now, people read this and say, see, you can eat pork. You can eat whatever you want to eat. You can eat catfish, shrimp, crab, and lobster. It said, let no man judge you in meat or in drink or holy. We ain't got to keep the Passover no more. We ain't got to. Why y'all keeping the new moon? Y'all in a cult or a Sabbath day. That's done away with. But they don't understand what this is talking about. We're going to explain it. Why is he saying, let no man therefore judge you in meat or in drink or in respect of a holy day? Let's go to the book of Ezekiel. Let no man judge you. Ezekiel chapter 47, 45 and verse 17. Watch this. We're going to give the understanding best we can. What did you have to do on the holy days, right? Ezekiel chapter 45 and verse 17. It says, and it shall be the prince's part to give burnt offerings and meat offerings and drink offerings in the feasts and in the new moons and in the Sabbaths and in all solemnities of the house of Israel. He shall prepare the sin offering and the meat offering and the burnt offering and the peace offering to make reconciliation for the house of Israel. So those are the ordinances that are done away, these offerings. How do we know? Because he said, as if you keep reading in the context, like people love to, they kill me with that. If you just keep reading the context, that's what he say. Let no man judge you therefore in meat offerings or drink offerings or in respect of an holy day, making sacrifices on these holy days, because on the Sabbath you had to make sacrifices every day, but on new moon you had to make, like, if I'm not mistaken, 8 sacrifices. You had to kill like 8 animals just for the new moon. So he's saying, look, don't let nobody judge you in not having that done no more. We're under Hamashiach now. It says, or of the new moon or the Sabbath day, which are a shadow of things to come. Us sacrificing animals on those days were a shadow of things to come. This is how we know what he's talking about. But the body is of Hamashiach. His body is the sacrifice now. His body is the meat offering. His blood is the drink offering for the Sabbath days, for the new moons, for the high holy days. That's why he's saying, don't let nobody judge you in that anymore. All right, let's go to Numbers. I'm going to show you some more. Let's go to Numbers chapter 28 and verse 11. Watch this. All right, it says, and in the beginnings of your months, which is the new moon, you shall offer a burnt offering unto the Lord, 2 young bullocks and 1 ram, that's 3, 7 lambs, so that's 10 animals of the first year without spot, all right, and 3/10 deals of flour for a meat offering, mingled with oil for 1 bullock, and 2/10 deals of flour for a meat offering, mingled with oil for 1 ram, and a several 10th deal of flour mingled with oil for a meat offering unto 1 lamb, for a burnt offering of sweet savor and sacrifice made by fire unto Yahweh. And their drink offering shall be half a hin of wine unto a bullock, and a 3rd part of a hin unto a ram, and a 4th part of an hin unto a lamb. This is the burnt offering every month throughout the months of the year. And 1 kid of the goats for a sin offering unto Yahweh shall be offered, besides the continual burnt offering and his drink offering. You had to do all that on the new moon. So Paul saying, that's what he's saying to the people in Colossia. Look, don't let nobody come in y'all congregation and say, why y'all, it's the new moon. Y'all off. Y'all going off. Where the drink offering? Where the lambs at? It's the new moon. It's the Sabbath. Where the offerings at? Man, y'all going off. Don't let nobody come in there and tell y'all off for not doing these things no more. Because those things were a shadow of things to come. All those sacrifices represented what was to come. Yahweh Shai coming and dying for us. It was to get us to understand that, but a lot of them couldn't understand that back then. You got to understand that's why in a lot of these letters, Paul is speaking about this no more. You're not under the law. Don't worry about the law. He ain't saying you can commit adultery now. He's saying the law of sacrifice is done away with, because he's talking to people who are making offerings, sacrifices and offerings every day of their life. So they're going from that to not doing it anymore. And he's having to reiterate that to these people. All right. So this is after the Yahweh Shai died, right? Let's go to Isaiah now. Let's read about the kingdom a little bit. What you gonna be doing in the kingdom? Ezekiel 47 was talking about the kingdom, right? But let's go to Isaiah. Ezekiel 45, I mean. Now let's read some more about the kingdom. What you gonna be doing in the kingdom of heaven if you get there, if you keep these commandments and you make it, right? It says, for as the new heavens and the new earth, which I will make. So we're talking about new heavens and new earth shall remain before me, saith Yahweh, so shall your seed and your name remain. And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another. Let me blow this up, man. It shall come, this is the kingdom, and it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith Yahweh. We're going to be keeping the new moon and the Sabbaths in the kingdom. If you get there, you can't not do it now and expect to do it when you get in the kingdom. It ain't going to work like that. You're going to get put to death for breaking the Lord's Sabbath day. All right. So I think I covered everything, man. Most High willing, I did. Hopefully this was edifying. You got something out of it. That's the law on the Sabbath. All right. We should definitely still be keeping the Sabbath day, because it is ordained and it is sanctified by the Most High God. All right. So this will be, like I say, this will be in a playlist called Law School. Most High willing, we'll get one of these done every single week, just going through the laws, breaking them down till we get all the way through, and then we'll start over and do it again. All right, because you need to know the law. A lot of times people say don't understand the New Testament in these letters is because they don't understand the laws. They don't understand anything about the meat offerings and the drink offerings. I didn't start reading that stuff until I came into the truth. I was just told, don't worry about it. We in the New Testament now. We under the new covenant. So it's very, very unwise to start a book at the end. All right, you need to know what's going on throughout the whole book and the progression of the Bible. The Bible has a very beautiful progression to it. All right, and the whole story is quite beautiful. So Most High willing, that New Wine Congregation of Israel, we're going to take you through that progression. We're going to take you through the laws and explain the feast days, how to do those. And that'll be a part of what I'm going to call law school. All right. So Most High willing, this was edifying. All praises and honor and glory goes to the Most High God, Yahweh, through the blood of his son, Yahweh Shai. It's your brother Nashan signing off. Shalom.